We started dropping new, fresh products every Friday. We're able to print up whatever the design is very quickly and kind of figure out if it's gonna work. We can print it out literally the same day. So we kind of stuck with that drop strategy. That helped. That was very significant to our growth.
Welcome to the DTC Insider Podcast, where online business owners come to find actionable tips and tactics to grow their businesses. Now, here's your host, Brian Roisentul.
Hey, welcome to another episode of the DTC Insider Podcast. I'm Brian Roisentul, your host, and today I'm joined by Claire Wolfson, co-founder of Bean Goods. Hey, Claire, it's a pleasure to have you here on the show.
Hi, thank you, Brian. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, likewise. So why don't you tell the audience more about the brand? What do you guys do?
Yeah. So the brand, I'm actually sitting in our little warehouse shop right now. So you can see some of the funny little wiener dog things we've got going on. But we have a very niche brand called Bean Goods, and it's all inspired by wiener dogs. And yeah, we've been kind of growing this silly little thing since 2011. So a very long time. And we do mostly we do apparel and accessories for humans and dogs. We do harnesses and leashes. And then we also do tons of graphic tees, hilarious graphic tees, all making wiener jokes.
That's a long time ago you started this. I speak with
Yes.
all brands. Some of them started a long time ago. Many started, after the pandemic. So what would you say was in just a few sentences, if you want, the biggest shift from those, I don't know if good old days, but from those days in which e-commerce was, I don't know if barely starting, but it was totally different. And what was the difference from back then, from those years and today?
Yeah. Wow. Well, back then it was just like when we first started, of course, it was just a little passion project. And my husband and I were working full-time design jobs, both of us. And so it was, fully just a passion project. But we quickly quit our jobs within like 3 years and kind of went full-time with Bean Goods. I will say that we've always believed in the brand, even as kind of ridiculous as it sounds. Like a lot of my family members and friends would just be like, what the hell is Claire and Chris doing? They have this wiener dog brand. Like, how is that even a thing? But we've always believed in it. And so that's one thing that's remained the same. But of course, back then it was just a teeny tiny operation. It was just Chris and I. We had no employees for many, many years. And we were just kind of slowly but surely making it work, figuring it out as we cruised along.
So what you just said, I think it's important because it happens to, I think, the best brands, even those, but not to all brands, those brands that try something different that wasn't, that is not massive just yet. I remember some founders I spoke with that they said the same thing. Everyone was, I don't know if laughing at them, but, saying, are you sure you want to do this? Do you really believe in this? Is this really going to work? Because they care about them, right? So how did you feel back then when you heard all those comments?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I will say I was thinking about this exact thing the other day randomly because I was thinking about a specific family member and comments that they have kind of said over the years. And I will say that it kind of just put fuel to my fire. I'm like, just wait, this is a real thing. And yeah, I will say it just put fuel to my fire. I'm like, no, this is a thing. This is going to be a thing.
What was e-commerce like in 2011? 2011, you started the brand. After 3 years, you said that both you and your husband quit both of your jobs.
Mm-hmm.
So did you have a Shopify store? Were you on, I don't remember if Etsy was a thing back then, but how did you sell your products back then? How did you approach e-commerce back then?
Yeah. So when we first started, we launched our e-commerce store on Big Cartel. I don't know if you remember Big Cartel, but it's like an OG platform and mostly geared towards artists and artists selling their artwork. So we were on our site was hosted on Big Cartel for years until 2017 is when we switched over to Shopify. So it was a very clunky site. I mean, it still looked pretty aesthetically pleasing, but it was a very clunky on the back end. And I guess I must have been Googling how to do some like HTML, trying to move logos around and whatnot, having absolutely no idea what I was doing, but just figuring it out as we went.
Remember that platform specifically, but I do remember that everyone was trying so many different things, selling on marketplaces. I don't know, eBay or some other marketplaces back then, because there wasn't, a Shopify. I don't recall exactly the year Shopify started, but even then it wasn't, massive. So I wanted to ask you, how did was there any, s- was there strong demand since the get go? Or did you have, some time until you could create that growth per se?
Yeah, there definitely surprisingly was a demand. And I think that's kind of how we were like, oh wow, this we can move forward with this. This is a proof of concept was pretty apparent early on. Of course, I mean it was small. We were not doing any advertising by any means, so it was all organic. We were on Instagram. Our Instagram, we started in 2012, which I think is the year that Instagram launched. Yeah. So, and through Instagram, we grew pretty quickly. And I think that is kind of how we originally started finding our people is through Instagram but it was all organic. And I want to say that just in terms of, I can't remember exactly like what our sales numbers were early days, but I know that we were doing six figures like pretty quickly. I think like maybe in 2013 or 2014 we were doing like six figures.
Was it then when you went back to your family member and said, look at the, look at the business now?
Yeah, I mean, people started to realize that even though it's such a silly concept kind of for a brand, people started realizing that like it was we had customers and we were getting traction and this was our full-time gig. So they had to start taking us seriously.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a silly concept, really, how did you say?
It's just
Si-
like it's funny. It's like it's just such a
silly. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's funny. But I mean, I don't know, in 2011, but these days I know many, many brands doing all kind of things for dogs. Clothing, many, even shoes for dogs,
Oh
many
yeah.
supplements for dogs, water for dogs, medicine for dogs, like all kind of things. I don't remember if there was one for makeup or something like that, but like all kind of things for
That
yeah,
I love that.
dogs. So costumes, for on Halloween, those that it's like the dog is walking because they have like these little, feet to the
Yeah.
so
They're
it's
like
like
they're like our children, you know?
yeah, exactly. I had a dog. I was telling you this offline for 14 years. And my parents said, because my parents were very strict with me and my brother. I mean, nothing extraordinary, but they were strict. They were raising us. And when my dog came, it was a beagle. It was like this. And they said, we don't want a dog, or we want a dog, but they always delayed the decision. So one day I came home and said, here's a dog. And they said, we don't want a dog here. Okay, we want it because it was so tiny, could fit in their palm. And it was like, I don't want it. I want it the moment they held her.
Yeah, how can
So
you say
they
no?
said, yeah. And they said, we raised you, but we are going to do, how do you say in English? I don't get the word, but we are going to do all the, let's say we are going to consent her to please her in everything she wants, because we didn't do that for you because we were raising you, but with the dog, we're doing to do everything she wants. So she slept in their bed. He was like another child. Me and my brother were looking at them. It was like, who are these people? He's like, so yeah, he was like the third child or grandchildren. I don't know.
Yep, totally. That makes perfect sense.
So to do a quick recap, 2011 launched the business. You saw demand, quickly started doing six figures. But is that when you saw significant growth, or it was until later in the journey, and why?
Yeah, it was definitely quite a bit later in the journey that we started seeing real significant growth with like big percentage jumps. And that is right around the end of 2018 is when things started to really kind of ramp up. And then from 2018 to 2019, 2019 to 2020 to 2020, and then 2020 to 2021. Those kind of like four-ish years, I guess, were very, very significant years of growth for us.
Can you identify a main cause for that, a main reason?
Yeah. So we had kind of been cruising along from 2011 when we started all the way to 2018. And we had moved to Southern California and in 2016 actually. It we just I kind of hit this point where I realized that we needed to get even like much more serious about our brand in order to keep it going and survive, basically. And so in 2018, I started looking into getting some more support, and I found my first business coach. And that was an absolute game changer for me and the growth of Bean Goods. Working with her, I would say the things that we worked on that really helped with our growth was first we did a real deep dive into all of our products because our our production was kind of all over the place. We were using two different print on demand companies, one of them being Printful and another one being a local one here in Southern California called Through Six. And so we were shipping things out of our loft, which is where we operated the business, was out of our loft that we also lived in, a work live loft. And then packages were also coming from Printful from us and from Through Six. So it was like this big sort of like mess of operations. And some of these products from Printful where we were doing like mugs, and what else were we doing with them? All sorts of stuff, like different like apparel items that we couldn't produce in-house. And then with Through Six, we were doing blankets and all sorts of different things. And I had not been paying attention to our margins really at all. I was like, oh yeah, this seems like a good price, but to charge, but there was many products that had really poor margins. So with my first business coach, we did a deep dive and we eliminated completely Printful because the margins were really, really low with the products that we were doing with them. And then we went kind of with a fine tooth comb and removed all of the products that had margin. Like we tried to get all of our margins around like 60, but closer to 65, 70%. And so that's one of the things that we did. And then another thing that we did was really honed in on our launch strategy and when we would be dropping new products and kind of how we were going to go about doing that, et cetera, et cetera. And we've stuck to that same plan literally since like we've been doing the same kind of consistent drop plan with little tweaks here and there, of course, since I want to say 2019. And so we started dropping new fresh products every Friday. And because a lot, like I mentioned in the beginning, a lot of our products are graphic tees. So it's really easy for us to kind of come up with new graphics like consistently. And sometimes our drops would be a collection. Other times they'd just be one design with like one design on a couple different options. Yeah. So we kind of stuck with that drop strategy. That helped. That was very significant to our growth. People love fresh, fresh items to add to their collection. And let's see. So margins drops. And then we did start doing some advertising as well. And yeah, we definitely started doing some advertising, I'd say, starting in 2019 and have definitely, it's like our main way of bringing in new customers now is through advertising. So we added that element in as well.
Great. So I wanted to do a little deep dive on some of these because I think that are really, really important because it was like a turning point for your brand,
Hmm.
wasn't it? Like
Oh,
doing
big
all this
time.
stuff. It's something we discuss often here with different, cases, different, examples, different brands coming and telling us what they do. And what we always say is that even these days with the hype of AI and everything going on, everything moves fast. The latest UGC that you can make with AI, without AI, get 1,000 affiliates, great. Like the basics haven't changed, or if they have changed, they still work. Going back to the basics, number one, about what you said, that I want everyone to, to understand and to process this, it's that knowing your numbers is paramount. I mean, it's no longer optional. Money was cheap back then. Some people could afford, for some reason to raise capital and to live out of that, even if they weren't profitable for a while. Now, purchase profitability is key for many brands. And for those who cannot achieve that, they need, cash flow. So they need repeat purchases and they need to additional focus on the repeat purchase process. So that's one thing. The other is, because here, it's like in the movies, progress looks easy and fast, but actually, I can imagine that going through all of these, all of the things that you mentioned was really tough because I cannot even imagine how it felt to listen to somebody else saying, "What are you doing?" Like these products, like you need to cut them. This provider, like needs to go. So like how long did it take to make that shift in terms before going to the product drop, which is another interesting part? Talking about the numbers, how long it took for you to do that transition?
Yeah, I want to say it took us a few months to really like clean things up, to go through the whole process of going through each and every one of our products with a fine tooth comb and kind of making a plan as to how we were going to move forward. I would say that probably took us, I want to say, 3-ish months, something like that.
There's a lot of work to do there, I guess. And then the thing that I'm fascinated about is the product drops. Because typically when we work with brands through my agency and when I speak with brands about how they grow, I would say always, but even more these days, people again look for hacks or shortcuts. Again, if they work, that's fine, but it's something that it's a one-off, I would say. So to create like repeat predictable growth, I think it's these days, what we see often is that it's done through the growth marketing calendar. And that includes creating new products, creating something fresh, as you said, something new for people to come back. So, how did you decide to make this happen? And how do you actually pull it off? Because weekly drops, it's a lot.
It is. Yeah, it absolutely is. And that's a comment that I get a lot, that wow, how do you guys keep up with keeping the fresh new collections, products dropping week after week after week? And yeah, I mean now so used to it that it's just I mean it is work, of course, but it comes a lot more naturally now. And we do have a team now, so we have people helping us make everything happen. But in the beginning, it took a lot of work, of course, and a lot of perseverance. Just keep going, keep doing the thing. But I will say that we kind of developed this, we made it kind of fun, and we would have, and we still do this now, but we don't do this for every drop, but for a lot of drops. And in the beginning, we had people signing up to be VIPs. So, and we would make it fun, like come be a VIP at our party, which AKA was the drop, and you will get first dibs. We do a lot of free gifts, mostly being stickers. Our customers absolutely love stickers, and we usually will drop a sticker that goes with whatever the collection is, whatever the design is. And for the first 50 orders that spend over $50, we'll get a free sticker. Around bigger drops, like or around Black Friday, that kind of thing, we really like juice up the VIP-ness of things. And but yeah, that has been a consistent strategy for us for years and years now, even though it feels like sometimes I feel like we've been at this for years and years, and other times it feels not that way.
Why is that?
I'm not sure, but when I'm talking about my first business coach and that growth, those big growth years between 2019 and 2021, that doesn't really seem like it was that long ago, but it was quite a long time ago now. But for some reasons, when I'm talking about it right now, it feels like it was just a couple years ago. Yeah.
Maybe I'm guessing, but you tell me. Maybe because it's what gave you the muscle to exercise the, let's say, the current, or to start the current strategies that you implement right now on the numbers, on the product drops, on the strategy, on supply chain side of things. So it's very vivid that the memory of that time very present because it's what you're currently implementing.
Yeah,
Maybe.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, it's fully the strategy is pretty much the same as it has been. We have made tweaks, of course, along the way, but the basics of it is still the same. So, yeah.
One quick question, the last question probably I have about the product drops is how do you organize things? Like for any brand listening to you right now and saying, I want to do the same, like how is this person pulling it off? Like how do they, let's say, structure or organize their internal processes to have these product drops from ideation to manufacturing, the calendar? How do you do it?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So, I guess it starts with the design or the concept of the product, and we constantly have ideas popping into our heads about products and designs. And so it kind of starts there. We do have in our team meetings, we'll have brainstorms and stuff about different concepts we've come up with, that and we'll bring them all to the table and kind of narrow them down to the best ones. My husband is the main graphic designer for all of our designs, so he's always noodling around on his computer and coming up with different designs, and we're able to kind of go from bring and we're able to go from bringing the design to market, to our website pretty quickly, because um we have a small made to order print on demand production in-house. We're able to print up whatever the design is very quickly and kind of figure out if it's going to work. We can print it out literally the same day. So that part is really cool. We create our own DTF transfers. So that's how we're able to do that in-house. And then from there, we will get the product kind of nailed down. And this is only for like our apparel items. We have other products that have a different process. But for our bread and butter, which is our human kind of graphic apparel, once we get those nailed down, then we will start producing content. And that's usually, we have a photographer in-house. She's actually also she was our first employee. She was also our first intern, and she's all self-taught. She is an amazing photographer now, but all self-taught just from working at Bean Goods for years and years. And so we usually will do a photo shoot. We'll get like flat lays. We'll get sometimes we'll send the products out to we have a brand rep team, so sometimes we'll send them out to them and we'll gather a bunch of content and we'll get it on the calendar. Then our social media gal will plan out. Well, she also does our emails as well. So she'll plan out the social media calendar and she'll get the drafts ready in Klaviyo and then it kind of all comes to life on Friday like it did today.
You clearly have all the systems in place, of course. And I know it's not easy to explain that in only a few minutes, but yeah, congrats because launching products, I don't know if every single week necessarily, but we know companies that don't launch any product for months or sometimes a year. And I'm not going to say or be generalistic and say that if you don't launch products it's bad and if you launch a lot of products it's good, but typically it helps. Otherwise, what levers do you have? But
Mhm.
other than running ads, spending more on ads, creating more creatives, let's say. So
Mhm.
it's there's more, of course, partnerships. You can do many more things, but discounting in the era of low margins probably again it's needed sometimes, but it's not. It shouldn't be the only lever. So yeah, uh, product drops come in handy for those situations. So I wanted to ask you, after a pandemic, because you said, and I was trying to remember that because I wanted to ask you, you said from something like 2019 to 2021, you define those as, great years with great growth. Why 2021? What happened next that those went
Yeah.
into great years?
Yeah. We really started like 2019 was a pretty big growth year from us, like 2018 to 2019. And so that was before the pandemic. And I think we grew maybe 80% that year. And that was all because of everything that I just mentioned, working with the business coach and implementing all those things. And then we kind of had some solid momentum going. And with that momentum of the year 2020, we had that really going. And then the pandemic hit and everybody was at home and everybody was shopping online. So and everybody was on their phones. So that was a big year of growth, a huge year of growth for us. And I think mostly because of the pandemic, because everybody was on their phones, everybody was shopping online, and they were looking for things to spark joy in a really dark time. And our brand that is what it is. It's hilarious, it's colorful. We have an amazing community. We have a long time Facebook group, and everybody that's in there, they're really close. Like real friendships have formed, and we have a lot of OG customers that really feel connected to the brand and in the community. So yeah.
Facebook group in 2026, and it's not the first time I hear that. It's a success for some reason. Yours, of course, it's sort of many years ago, but for those on the edge of creating a community or wondering why do they need one, what could you tell them? What do you use it for? I know that it doesn't sound good saying what do you use a community because it's not to use specifically, but why a community?
Yeah, I think community is super, super important to all brands. I think that all brands should create community for their customers and their brand. And it's just because customers like to buy from they like to buy from something that they feel connected to. And they like to know the people behind the brand as well. So I'm not like the face of the brand by any means. I used to be more like front facing and Facebook group. I used to run the Facebook group. I also used to do our social media, so I was a lot more front facing. And so a lot of our OG customers do know who I am, and they know who Chris, and we do events and all the things. So like we do a lot of front facing stuff, but I don't think it has to be that way. But I think it helps for the customers to know who's behind the brand. So showing team content, founder content here and there. I don't think it needs to be like, you don't have to be the face of the brand, but a little bit mixed in, I think really goes a long way. And yeah, just creating kind of a safe space for like, because in our case it's a subculture, it's a niche, it's something that people are obsessed with. So creating a space for all of those people to kind of connect and obsess over the same thing together is really special.
It's, I mean, something we often discuss with, again, different brand owners, founders, operators, is that brands probably will have an easier time. I don't know if they need to, but will have an easier time if they go beyond the storefront. If they do what you said, do events, engage with our community. If it becomes something tied to emotions because you have something in common that you share, because after all, that's a brand, it's, you build rapport with a brand and not with another, not because of the products they sell only, but because of what you feel about that brand, what you have in common with what they communicate, the values or whatever they make visible, their personality, right? So I think that it's important. We have many stories here on the podcast that they said how valuable it was for them, for the founder, to meet their customers in real life in a world of, virtuality, let's say, with Zoom calls, Google Meets, podcasts, it's getting face to face with your customers. And not only that they see that there's someone human real behind the brand that cares, but it's having that interaction that we lose
Mhm.
with the online because we don't hear what the customers are thinking. When you are in a brick and mortar store, I used to own brick and mortar stores, and customers came in, and you you see the reaction, even if they are, I don't know, looking at the shirt or whatever. And it's like you see their faces or you listen to the questions they ask. Do you have one with a pocket or without a pocket or with a whatever, with a,
Mhm.
so those are the things that we miss in the online sometimes. And I think that it can spark a lot of ideas for product ideation, for marketing, and for, I don't know, whatever, being there for your customers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So going like forward in time, so 2021 was really big, and then of course after the spike in demand started to decrease, e-commerce struggled a lot. Like when we speak about or when we mention the evolution of e-commerce in those years, we say that like as a quick, let's say, generic recap, 2022 there were massive layoffs, massive
Mm.
layoffs. In 2023, everyone started to realize, or most brands started to realize, what you realized back then with your coach, that money was no longer cheap, and they needed to look at something called the bottom line, and margins and top line revenue wasn't the ultimate goal. It sounds funny now, but it wasn't something that people spoke about. Retention was a password back then. It was like, we need retention, we need to improve retention, right? But definitely 2023 and 2024 election year weren't easy years. And 2025, well, I remember because I own an agency in the e-commerce space. So I'm directly affected if my clients are as well.
Mhm.
I was speaking with many brands like this year is going to be better. This year, 2025 is going to be it. And we started January with the TikTok news of ban or sell. And then a month later, the tariffs.
Yeah.
So man, what are you, how could you describe those years for you and for the brand?
Yeah. So yeah, after those kind of explosive years of growth thing and after the pandemic and we kind of got back to normal life, our growth we have consistently we have been on a not like a this, but we've been more like just like this. And but yeah, it's been tough. It's been really tough the past few years because we have been growing, and with growth you need more support. You need more team members and stuff to keep it going, but it's just it's really challenging um to stay above water because your expenses, as you grow, your expenses also grow, and it's just like cash flow is tough, and you need help, but like you can't really afford the help that you need, and all of these things. So yeah, we went from those really explosive years of like 80% growth, and like I think one of the years we had a hundred and something percent growth. So these were like really, really explosive years of growth for us. And then the past, I want to say 4 years have been more 20% growth, 15% growth. And then 2025 was only a 10% growth year for us. And we were in a this is one little side note that's directly related, but for instance, we were in a very tiny warehouse for that we moved into our first warehouse in 2020 when we were having those explosive growth years. But we were in a very tiny warehouse and we stayed in there up until March of last year, but we had fully outgrown it. It only had one bathroom. We have like 3 full-time employees and a couple part-time employees. It was just we were on top of each other in there. Our products were exploding, so or overflowing into the parking lot almost. For instance, last year we moved into a much bigger warehouse that's about 3 times the size. But then, of course, our rent is much, much more expensive. It's it's yeah, it's very challenging. It's a roller coaster of ups and downs and figuring things out. And then it's interesting though, because on the flip side, ended 2025 with only a 10% growth, but we had just finished our best month ever in December. And so yeah, it just shows just what a roller coaster.
Yeah, it definitely is. It was for me, for people I know in the space, and I know that there are some times to celebrate and sometimes to just hang in there. And I think that something that must have helped you, correct me if I'm wrong, is your community, your customers, because I think that that goes a long way. You know, when you know that you have built something that means something for somebody else, that they are part of something that is tied to emotions, in this case, a dog or a human being, someone they love as well. I think it's rewarding to say, this is why we did it. It's not that you sell something that nobody cares. And one more thing that I want to add is that looking at the bright side, you grew 10% in one of the toughest years that I can remember in the modern history, let's say, after the pandemic, let's say, in this new world, many companies didn't grow. Many companies closed their doors. So still growing in that tough environment speaks highly about the team effort and the brand that you have built.
Thank you. Yeah, and another thing just kind of that was hopeful for me, because after that best month ever, it was our best sales month ever, but it was very challenging at the same time. But another place that felt hopeful for me was after having our meeting with uh our person who helps us with all of our financial stuff, our P&L and all of that, and just kind of looking at the the growth over the past 4-ish years or so, and knowing like, okay, like seeing it is it is happening. We are still growing slowly but surely, and we have been profitable every year. And the profit, it's not huge, of course, but that is growing every year as well, by little by little, brick by brick. So that felt hopeful for me.
That's important. So what are your future plans for, let's say 2026 at least?
Yeah. So looking at 2026, we have been kind of thinking about which directions we should go and fun new things that we can try um to help us grow. And there's a couple things that we are planning on focusing on. One of them being wholesale, because we have only been a DTC brand for the entirety of our existence. We have not done any wholesale efforts whatsoever. And I think that that is a significant opportunity for us to explore. So that's one thing that we're going to be exploring this year is wholesale. Another thing that we are going to be exploring is some licensing. We are known for our sort of parody designs. We've done designs inspired by Trader Joe's. We've got like a Dodger Dogs design back here. And our customers absolutely love all of those parody designs, but we'd like to explore some real licensing opportunities. So yeah, that's something that we are going to explore this year as well. We're going to go to a big licensing expo in May, and then introducing some new products as well. One specific thing that we're looking into bringing to life is toys, dog toys. So yeah.
So a lot going on for the brand in
Yep.
2026. That's
Yes.
great. That's amazing. I really enjoyed the conversation. I think that there are a lot of golden nuggets and a lot of valuable advice, legit advice, from your story that brands, whether they are earlier in their journey or ahead, can take. Because again, even legacy brands haven't paid attention to many of these details early on as you did, numbers and even product drops, and community. I think that it's something to stop, think, and evaluate whether they want to do it, those who are listening, whether they want to go for it in 2026 or not. But it was a pleasure to have you. And if anyone wants to get in touch with you or learn more about the brand, where can they go?
Yeah. Well, we are Bean Goods on all platforms, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. And then you can find my Instagram. My personal Instagram is just right there. It's just at Claire Wolfson. So I'm always happy to connect with other founders and talk shop. So feel free to reach out.
That's great. So for everyone listening, watching, first off, thank you. And second, if you go to the dtcinsider.com and then to the podcast section, you will find this episode. And right there, you will read the show notes, including the social media handles and the website. So Claire, again, thank you for being here on the show. It was a pleasure.
Thank you, Brian.
This episode was brought to you by BSR Digital. We help DTC brands grow through paid ads and email marketing campaigns. If you'd like us to help your business grow, head on over to bsrdigital.com and schedule a call with us.